Hello, thank you for clicking on the video. As you can see, we're jumping back into the Family Guy universe. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the like. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notifications button so you know exactly when new videos is up and ready for viewing. As per usual, if you don't like spoilers, you've never seen Family Guy before, then you should jump off of here, go watch it, then come back. If you don't care, we move on. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about Peter, because so in one episode, I think it happens in like season 1 or season 2, he actually goes and gets tested and is declared legally retarded. And I do not think that Peter ever was actually retarded in any capacity. In fact, I just think that he did not care to try, because we see him throughout the series be very competent throughout on multiple occasions for multiple different reasons. So I think he just used that as an excuse, to get away with shit, right? And it literally in that episode when he is declared legally retarded, he literally goes around doing random ass shit, talk about some I can do it because I'm retarded. Well, I can do it because I'm retarded. And it's like, he's obviously using it as an excuse. And before that episode, like, he was still doing dumb shit, but he wasn't using an excuse. He was just doing it because he wanted to. And most likely the reason why he, I guess, failed with that test that he took is because he just didn't care, right? And he likes to just have fun, but he can be a competent father. We see him interact with Meg, so him and Meg have this secret great relationship actually, where they've had moments where by themselves they've come to understand one another, especially when he took her on that college trip and convinced her not to go to her college admissions interview thing. But they had a moment where they understood each other and got closer. And then when the episode with the supermarket, that also helped them to get closer. And so we see in private, he tells her that he loves her and all of this stuff, but he openly protects her multiple times. And if someone who isn't competent wouldn't be able to understand these different situations to know, okay, well, my daughter is either in a bad spot or could be put in a bad spot, so let me go ahead and protect her. For instance, the episode when now this one, he openly was just trying to be a good father, because I can't remember exactly what happened, but ultimately he was worried about Meg and was like, well, I'm just gonna be a great father. And she ends up seeing this guy, she thinks she's pregnant, and he immediately is like, hey, you got my daughter pregnant, you married my daughter. Like, he was ready to go and beat the boy up. I can't remember if he grabbed a shotgun or a bat, but he was going to beat him up for her. And the guy, he was like, oh, well, I want to do what's right for Meg and the baby that wasn't even a baby. But Peter was not playing. And there's other times as well, like, so when with there's an episode when Stewie gets knocked out by Meg and Chris. This is terrible, neglectful parenting, by the way. Terrible and neglectful. I do not condone what Peter chose to do, but Peter knew the whole time. The moment that Chris and Meg knocked Stewie out, Peter knew. Someone who is not aware of their surroundings, someone who is slow, someone who is not competent in any capacity is not going to be able to understand the situation without actually knowing what's going on, right? He knew. And then when he told them that he knew, he proceeded to help them, and then proceeded to make Lois think that she is the one that knocked Stewie out. And then by the way, they both were terrible parents, because in that moment when they made Lois think that she was the one that hurt him, she's talking about something, oh, we gotta get hats and cover it up, talking about the same shit that they was doing for weeks or months, right? And he's like, oh man, see, I married the right one. Like, let's take our son to the hospital now after all this time, right? It was so dumb, you know. But and this one is like a notice it type of thing, right? So Peter don't be caring. If he can have fun, he gonna have fun, right? There's an episode when Stewie and Brian, they swap bodies because Stewie was trying to help Brian fix his life or whatever, and stuff get mixed up, and everybody in town swap body. Well, at first it's just Chris, Stewie, Brian, and Peter. They swap bodies, and Peter didn't care. Peter noticed, because this is my thing. How the hell Chris knew what the hell was going on? We'll get to Chris in a completely different video, but Chris knew. And I feel like Peter also knew what was going on, but he's in this baby body, so he just took full advantage of the moment, because he was making comments about the stuff that was going on, and he just chose to ignore it, because it's easier to act like you don't know what's going on so that you don't have to be the parent in the situation. And Peter don't like being the parent in any situation, you know. And so it's not even like, well, he said multiple times, him and Lois has said multiple times, that they don't like their lives, that they don't like having to be parents, they don't like having to have responsibilities. So he just chooses to ignore the stuff around him, you know. And that's the same thing as like when he went back in time, he had death send him back in time, and he completely ruined his marriage, and had to fix it multiple times. Like, he had one last shot, and you know, almost lost his wife to quagmire, like. But he literally was choosing to just have fun in that moment. He knew what he needed to do. He knew what he was supposed to be doing in that time, but he was so sick of the responsibilities in his, you know, day-to-day life, that he goes, when he gets put back in time, he goes and he just chooses to have fun in his young, non-responsible body, and then almost messes up his entire, well, he messes it up, you know, and constantly keeps messing it up, and using that, oh, well, I'm just a little slow. You're not slow, because you fixed it in the end. You was able to turn it around. You know, these are just a few examples of why I don't think Peter is actually retarded. You know, those tests are on like general knowledge, and, you know, usually, as far as I know. So, you know, I understand if he just don't know nothing. You know, he did drop out of college, of high school or something like that, so maybe he just didn't know like the material or something. But he definitely is, you know, more competent and aware of his surroundings and what's going on, you know, and knowing when to, you know, act and when not to act, you know, than that he tries to let on. He wants people to think that he's slower than he actually is, so that he can get away with more stuff. Ultimately, it leads to some funny moments and some not so funny moments, in my opinion. But, you know, yeah, Peter is actually one of my favorite characters for the most part. But like I said, he be doing dumbass shit for just for fun. You know, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. And, you know, why don't you tell me what is one of your favorite Peter moments? With that being said, until next time, bye.